I am so sure that you have heard this one before. I am so sure that you've heard it before. You get what you tolerate. In every part of your life and business. And I want to be focusing in on one area today because I think it's probably the area where it's sucking the most time. And you can take it and apply it wherever you like. But I'm going to start with the one that sucks the most time and probably takes up the most of your brain space as well. You get what you tolerate with your team. Whatever we're walking past, whatever we're ignoring, whatever we're thinking about, we'll have that chat later. That's what you're tolerating. And sometimes we're doing it because we don't know how to have the conversation. And there are so many cool frameworks out there. Go and find a framework that works for you, that you feel comfortable using to consistently tell people if they're missing the mark. But if you have been tolerating stuff, if you've been tolerating people not showing up on time, tolerating people not putting things where they need to go, tolerating people not meeting expectations in terms of the sales that they need to be putting through, the workload that they're creating, where you have allowed that to happen and you've not said anything, they have assumed that your silence is approval. It's a whole nother conversation for another day, because if you can flip in your life for silence to mean disapproval so that you go and get more confirmation, more information, it will change the whole game. Because as a general rule, silence does not mean approval. It doesn't mean it when you ignore things that aren't working and you say nothing. It doesn't mean you approve of the fact that they're not meeting their targets in their business, or they didn't follow through and follow the system. You don't approve of that. You just haven't said anything. And it's two really different things. So you get what you tolerate when you walk past things, when you ignore things, when you don't say things, when things have been slipping for a long time. Sometimes it can be really hard to reset that. And it's really hard to reset that because the first place you have to come to is that it's on us, the person in the mirror, the business owner, the leader, the person that is responsible for ensuring that the business is going in the right direction and doing the right things. So what I mean by that, it's not your fault, it's just your responsibility. And it's your responsibility because you are the holder of the vision, you are the keeper of the standards. If you don't do those things in your organization and your business, it's going to make things really tough, really tough. And so the first thing is, you need to be really clear on what your expectations, what your standards are inside your organization. In the Moxie world, we talk about those as behaviorally, we talk about those as the values that your organization holds, your business holds. And in terms of operationally, we talk about that in terms of the systems, right? Systems run the business, people run the systems, makes life so much easier. So you need to be really, really clear on those. Once you're clear on those, here are some of the things that have probably shown up for you as the leader with your team. You haven't been clear about your expectations. So you've done a poor job of communicating what you want from your team members. And often that might be that we've given them a lot of information all at once instead of focusing on one area. So you haven't been really clear that showing up ready to work on time is a requirement, and you haven't communicated it multiple times in multiple different ways. I know that sounds ridiculous, but it's not. It's human psychology. We all require, very few people require to hear something just once to get it. So as the leader, we've done a poor job of communicating what the standards and the expectations are that we want in our business. The second thing we might have done is we might have done a poor job of creating personal ownership, self-responsibility for their role in the organization. It's really easy because you want your business to succeed, you want the team to succeed, of jumping in and rescuing and helping your team members, your employees, and by doing that, making it seem like it's your responsibility to make everything successful, that if they can't do their job properly, that it's your responsibility to rescue them. So again, we need to communicate what we want, and then we will need to make sure that our team members are personally responsible for taking action on the things that they do, and there's a consequence for that. The next thing that you might not have done super well is explaining why you want it done this way. We had this the other day on the boat for Johnny. We've been running our boat for 17 years. So we've tried most things, most ways to figure out the best way of doing it. And this new crew member, they were super excited, happened to also be doing their dive training at the same time. And so they got onto our boat. We keep snorkeling super simple because we have a lot of people in the water. We want to keep them safe. And for the most part, they're not doing scuba diving, they're snorkeling. And so this guy got in the water and he was so excited about helping out this crew member, and he wanted to have a line, and he wanted to have a weight, and he wanted to have all this extra equipment that they teach you about when you go and do your scuba diving licenses, which were not required for what we were doing. And at the time, Johnny just went, no, we don't do it that way. And this person was frustrated by that. And so Johnny had to come back around and explain why we don't use those things. He explained that, it's much, much harder to go and get to someone quickly if you've got all this gear on you. It's much more likely that someone's going to get tangled up. It's much more. So we have all these reasons why we keep snorkeling very simple. And it keeps the crew member safer. It keeps the clients, the guests on the boat safer. So it's really important that we explain the reason why behind it. Because they don't have the same thought processes, the same experience as you on your business, on your life experience. They just don't. And so they don't think the same way as you. So you're going to have to explain why. And when you explain to people why, more often than not, the penny will drop. The other thing you might not have done as a leader is that you might not have provided them with the training. So that was something Johnny had to do in that situation. He had to provide some more training around why. Here's how we do things. You might not have, this is the big one, provided any coaching, nudging, resetting of expectations when they didn't meet your expectations. So you get what you tolerate. And these are all the things that could have been going on that meant that they didn't have everything they needed. And it's our responsibility to own that. Is the uncomfortable bit for most of us. This is where we do what we call an apology reset. If you haven't read this book, I highly recommend it. It's The Road Less Stupid by Keith Cunningham. Great name, I know. Read it, it's worth it. It talks all about this particular process. And I love the apology reset because it allows us as leaders in our businesses to be human. It allows us to take ownership for the parts of it that we are responsible for, and it allows our team members to step up and be responsible for the bits that they're responsible for in a way that's really gentle. It's about having a conversation, and at the same time, it positions you as very human. I think sometimes as business owners, we don't recognize it, but we play that whole pedestal pit positioning out inside our employees' minds. And so when they love you, they put you up on a pedestal. And when you're not perfect and you don't get everything right, they stick you down the pit. So it's our job as leaders to say, hey, I'm human too. I'm going to get things wrong. And when I get things wrong, that's totally okay because I can apologize and I can fix it. And if you position it as okay for you to get things wrong and you to say sorry and you to fix it, they will feel like there is spaciousness for them to get things wrong, say sorry, and to fix it. So we're going to say sorry. If you've been tolerating something for a long period of time where a team member, child, partner has been doing something that you don't love, that doesn't meet your expectations, you're going to own your partner and you're going to apologize for your partner, whether that be not clearly communicating, not communicating the why, not giving the training, not giving the training, and not telling them when they get it wrong. Like, you're going to own your bit and you're going to say sorry for that. I'm really sorry that I wasn't clear about my expectations. I'm working on being a better leader. Not a better leader. You could be a better leader if you wanted. I'm working on becoming a better leader. And just so you know, from today forward, I'm going to be really clear about my expectations and that they do need to be met. So you can talk to them about where you slipped up, what you're going to do differently, and then what you expect of them when you do that differently. Because when you start communicating what you want, how you want, why you want it in your business done this way on a consistent basis, all of a sudden people will start to understand how this works. So know what your standards and expectations are, communicate them consistently. And if you haven't been communicating them consistently, own that bit. Look in the mirror and go, okay, which of those kind of 5 areas am I not doing as the leader? Apologize for not doing those things, and then let them know that you're going to shift and you're going to start doing those things. And then lastly, take action. If you said you're going to be clearer about communicating expectations, be clearer. Make sure that those expectations are repeated often. If you need to communicate why, do so. If you need to notice when people aren't meeting your expectations and bring them back to expectations with some great coaching, do that. Because this way we'll get away from those frustrating places where you know you've got standards and expectations, but they're not being met. And you can start to move people forward. So you get what you tolerate, and you can absolutely fix it, whether that happens to be in your business or your life.